Now to our other top story this evening, that tragedy that has left the town of Cozad shaken to its core. Many there switching their social media profile pictures to an image reading prayers for Cozad.
A murder-suicide that left a family of 4 dead and their friends and family looking back at a difficult mental health journey that ended in the worst way.
It was supposed to be a day of celebration, a moment frozen in time, caps in the air, as proud parents wipe away tears. One last photo before the next chapter begins. However, May 10th, 2025 became a day the town of Cozad, Nebraska would never forget. His son never made it to graduation. Hours before the ceremony, he was already dead alongside his younger brother, his mother, and the man who pulled the trigger, his father. This wasn't a random killing. There was no break-in, no masked figure in the night. This was a deliberate and intimate act, executed with chilling precision. The person behind it wasn't a stranger. It was the man Bailey Koch had spent years trying to save, her husband Jeremy. The question isn't just who did it. It's why this happened on the morning their son was supposed to walk across the stage and begin the rest of his life. The Koch family appeared to be any other Midwest family, navigating life in a quiet rural town. Their 2-story home, just off a gravel road outside Cozad, Nebraska, sat among fields of wheat and corn. It was the kind of place where the pace was slow, the neighbors waved from porches, and kids still rode bikes in the street. Jeremy Koch, 42, was a quiet man, a freelance information technology contractor and handyman. He wasn't exceptionally social, but was known to be polite and reserved. He was the kind of man who kept to himself but was present at his son's games, silent on the sidelines. His wife, Bailey, was his opposite in many ways. Open, expressive, and a devoted mother who lit up her community. She was active on social media and had used it as a diary of sorts since 2009, documenting their family's triumphs, struggles, and more recently, her husband's battle with mental illness. Bailey wasn't shy about what they were going through. For years, she had written about Jeremy's declining mental health, his long history of depression, and the toll it was taking on their marriage and their children. But she didn't post out of pity. She posted out of hope. Earlier that year, she launched a GoFundMe campaign to fund a treatment called transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS, a non-invasive therapy for treatment-resistant depression, one last chance to bring Jeremy back from what she called the edge. Her campaign description read, "Jeremy isn't violent. He's tired. He's been trying to fight this for years. TMS might be the miracle we've been praying for." The campaign raised over $20,000. People were rooting for them. But beneath her public hope lay years of escalating warning signs, emotional withdrawal, erratic behavior, medication failures, and moments of isolation. Friends later recalled how Bailey had once said, "He's in the house, but I feel like I'm living with a ghost." Their sons, Hudson 18 and Asher 16, were the bright lights of the family. Hudson was set to graduate that morning, a passionate photographer and athlete with plans to attend community college that fall. His cap and gown were hanging on the door. His shoes were laid out the night before. Asher, quieter and more introspective, loved science, coding, and video games. He looked up to his big brother and adored his mother. No one imagined that this would be their final day. It began with silence. Hudson never arrived for his graduation lineup. Friends texted him. No answer. Bailey hadn't posted her usual proud mama photo montage. By 9 a.m., a few calls started circulating. Teachers tried reaching her, but still nothing. By 9:30 a.m., a neighbor concerned and unsettled walked across the field to knock on their door. The truck was parked outside. Curtains were drawn. There are no sounds inside. That neighbor made the call, a welfare check. At 10:06 a.m., Dawson County deputies arrived at the Koch residence. When they received no answer at the door, they circled the home and then made entry through an unlocked side door. The first thing they noticed was stillness. A TV is on in the living room, with the volume set to a low level. Breakfast dishes in the sink. A cap and gown laid out neatly on the table. And then, they saw her. Bailey Koch was found in the main bedroom, dead from a gunshot wound. Nearby, a cell phone with missed notifications. Officers called for backup. They proceeded down the hallway and found Hudson in his bed. Still dressed in the t-shirt he'd slept in. No signs of struggle. A fatal gunshot wound to the head. Asher, too, was found in his room, the exact cause of death. A half-open laptop is still on his desk, and just outside their rooms, in the hallway, Jeremy Koch, with a handgun nearby. He had turned the weapon on himself. 4 family members, 3 murdered, 1 suicide. Each body had been positioned as if the killings occurred during sleep or in the moments just after waking up. No noise was reported, no time to react. Investigators would later say the house felt controlled, no signs of rage, just eerie calm, as if everything had been prepared the night before. On the table next to Hudson's gown was a handwritten note in Bailey's handwriting meant to be read aloud at his graduation dinner. She would never get to read it. When the news broke that all 4 members of the Koch family were dead on what should have been Hudson's graduation day, the community spiraled into disbelief. Who would do this? Why would anyone kill their children? How could no one have seen it coming? However, the evidence at the scene revealed a harrowing truth. There had been no break-in, no outsider. This was a father killing his family, step by step, room by room. The Nebraska State Patrol took over the scene immediately. Detectives began piecing together the timeline, starting with autopsies. The findings were haunting. Time of death, estimated between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. Each victim had 1 gunshot wound to the head. No evidence of movement, no signs of a struggle. They had likely died in their sleep or just as they began to wake up. The murder weapon, a registered .40 caliber Glock 22, legally owned by Jeremy. It was recovered next to his body in the hallway, partially loaded with only 1 round remaining. However, it was Jeremy's digital footprint that provided investigators with a deeper insight into what had led to that moment. His phone showed recent searches for painless ways to die, gunshot lethality, and how to write a will without a lawyer. A deletion of dozens of messages and emails from the week prior, some from Bailey, others from close friends. A complete clearing of his calendar, contacts, and notes the night before the incident. Detectives also reviewed security footage from a local pharmacy. Jeremy had picked up a refill for antidepressants 3 days prior, but investigators noted he hadn't been taking them due to 2 bottles being found untouched in a bathroom drawer. His browsing history on his laptop revealed a disturbing pattern of disconnection. Posts in mental health forums asking, "How do you know when it's too late? Can depression become contagious to your family?" One forum post, dated May 8th, read simply, "I'm exhausted. There's no fixing this anymore. I want the pain to stop for all of us." The most unsettling piece? He had visited the GoFundMe page Bailey had created, the exact page that had raised over $20,000, the same campaign she had poured her heart into. He viewed it again on the morning of the murders. To understand how Jeremy transitioned from a struggling husband to a family annihilator, investigators consulted clinical experts. Dr. Mia Landon, a psychiatrist and crisis intervention expert, told the media, "What we're looking at here is likely a case of psychological collapse, layered with internalized guilt and resentment. Men in rural areas often suffer from silent depression, untreated, unspoken, and masked as stoicism." She explained that in rare but extreme cases, untreated treatment-resistant depression can evolve into something more dangerous: psychosis, paranoia, and even a distorted belief that suicide isn't enough. That taking your loved ones with you is a form of twisted mercy. This isn't justification. It's a warning. Bailey had seen it. She had written about it. In one post just weeks before the tragedy, she wrote, "Jeremy says he feels like a burden, that we'd all be better off without him. I tell him that's the illness lying, but he doesn't always believe me." Detectives traced Jeremy's last purchases: ammo, duct tape, and a notebook with scribbled entries written, some crossed out. In one passage, just 2 days before the killings, he wrote, "They're better off gone if I go first. If I go and leave them in this mess, they'll suffer more. I won't let that happen." That was the motive, not hatred, not revenge. but the delusion that he was protecting them from the wreckage he believed he had become. By May 12th, the Koch family murder case was national news. Bailey's GoFundMe page was taken down out of respect for the family, but screenshots had already been saved and circulated, sparking debates about America's mental health system and the burden placed on families to self-fund life-saving care. Local pastor Rob Withers made a statement that echoed the town's heartbreak. Bailey was fighting for her husband. She loved him deeply. She believed he could get better. That love wasn't a weakness, it was a strength. But the system let her down. Cozad residents organized a candlelight vigil the following weekend. Hundreds showed up. Photos of the family were displayed on poster boards. People cried. People screamed. Some stood in silence. At the center of it all was a single empty graduation chair with Hudson's name embroidered on it. By the evening of May 12, 2025, the Nebraska State Patrol held a press briefing. Their findings were no longer theory, they were confirmation. Based on physical evidence, digital communications, and forensics, we have determined that Jeremy Koch was the sole perpetrator in the murder of his wife and 2 sons, followed by suicide. There was no outside killer. There is no mystery left to solve. But the question that haunted everyone, the one that still echoed across headlines and homes, was the why. Jeremy Koch was not a stranger to despair. He had spent years in a mental battle that his family, especially Bailey, had tried desperately to fight beside him. She had raised money. She had told the world. She had never abandoned him, and that's what makes what happened next even more tragic. Jeremy didn't lash out in rage. He wrote them out of the future. In the weeks leading up to May 10th, Jeremy made quiet preparations. He stopped working, deleted emails, cleared appointments. What remained on his phone was one calendar reminder. Hudson's graduation, 8:30 a.m. That morning, instead of heading to the ceremony, Jeremy stood at the edge of his son's beds and pulled the trigger. There is no warning shot, no confrontation, just calculated, irreversible devastation. Investigators found something even more chilling in the home, a flash drive labeled "for later." On it were photos of family vacations, birthday videos, and school plays. Additionally, there is a document titled "Final Notes." It wasn't a suicide letter in the traditional sense. It was fragmented like a man at war with himself. Here are some of the most heartbreaking lines. "I tried. I did. But it's always waiting for me in the morning. I see what I've done to them. I've ruined their lives by staying here. If I go and they stay, I've still failed them. They deserved peace. I gave them that, didn't I?" Jeremy believed in the twisted logic of a broken mind that what he did was mercy, a release. As though death was the only thing he still had the power to give his family. And yet everything on Bailey's social media told a different story, one of relentless hope. Just 3 days before the tragedy, she had posted a smiling photo of Jeremy and Hudson playing cards. "He had a good day today. I saw glimpses of the man I married again." It was the last public photo of them alive. The Koch family murder case is not just a tragedy. It's a mirror, a hard look at how much pressure families carry when the people they love are slipping away inside their minds. Bailey Koch believed Jeremy could be saved. She gave him love. She gave him her voice. She gave him her faith. But in the end, the system didn't meet her halfway. Bailey, Hudson, and Asher are gone. But their story, their fight, lives on in every viewer who chooses to see mental illness for what it is. A battle that no one should ever have to face alone. What are your thoughts on this tragic and heartbreaking story? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts. If you are new to the channel and like this kind of content, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for upcoming episodes. Your support is greatly appreciated. Until next time, I will see you on Urban Crime Stories.